What is the most obvious hint you've dropped that went unnoticed by a guy? Have this ridiculously attractive girl sit 2 seats down from me in a college writing class. Some kids add between us. RA girl proceeds to mean girl to heck out of this kid. Next class, he sits somewhere else. She slides her books over to his seat, sits down next to me and says, "Hi, I'm your new partner." We didn't have partners in this class. After class, she asks if she can email me a paper to critique. I give her my email address, and she sends me her number. I text her, saying, "Here's my number too, but I think you forgot to attach the paper." Never received the paper. Following the next class, she asks me to walk her to her car. It's 11 a.m. She claims to need to get something out of the back seat, and then just sort of rummages around a very clean back seat, bent at the waist. Calls back that she hopes I'm enjoying the view. I sort of chuckled, oblivious. She gets out, looks at me, and says, "I'm a little surprised you didn't grab my butt. Maybe next time." Following class, she literally takes my hand and places it on her butt, looking me dead in the eye and says, "Give it a squeeze." I've met predator drones less tenacious than her. What, are you supposed to actually assault her on the chance she likes it? Duck no, dude. Missed signal or not, you did the right thing at her car. I'm absolutely well aware of that. This was a few months ago, and I just got out of the military. After a long enough time, that sexual harassment and assaults are 2 things very much on my mind when interacting with women. Edit. At 769 upvotes, I realize I probably don't need to clarify at this point, but avoiding harassment and assaults are what's on my mind. Not just being ducky killy you over here. I have to agree with both this commenter and the person who responded to him. He did the right thing. Sometimes it's not actually about being oblivious. Sometimes the signs are actually pretty obvious. What's less obvious, however, is the appropriate course of action. Some girls might say things they don't fully mean. You could try to argue that you were just taking them at face value, but that won't necessarily stop you from being punished if they complain. It's always better to err on the side of caution. That one grope really isn't worth the potential fallout if it turns out you really did misread the signs. I met a guy in New Orleans, and after a lot of texting and talking, we wound up having a second date in California. I live in Colorado, he's in Florida. He had to run out to do a few things, and when he came back, I was rolling a doobie in some lingerie out on the deck of our hotel room. He legit just said, "Hey, you ready for dinner? Get dressed so we can go." Guy was hungry, not thirsty. He could have ate. When the guy I have now been married to for 15 years and I first started hanging out, we spent a lot of time at a friend's house with the whole group. I finally got him out to the front porch alone one night, hanging out on the couch there, and I kept finding reasons to touch him and flirt with him. I stole his watch and made him try to get back from me. We tickled each other and other flirty goofing around. He told me after we started dating that he called a female friend later that night to ask her what she thought it meant, if I was flirting with him. One night we were at his house watching TV late, and I kept throwing hints at him. No dice. We were literally spooning on the floor by the TV, and I finally just said, "Would you like to kiss me?" He's such a sweet, wonderful man. Glad I finally got through his obliviousness. Aw, this one made me really happy. It's always nice to read wholesome stories like this, especially on a thread that I thought was mostly going to consist of raunchier stories than this. I also love that this couple has stayed together for so long since all this happened. Maybe he isn't the fastest guy out there, but at least he's faithful. Congratulations to this happy couple for overcoming the early confusions and managing to stick it out through the years. A girl once sucked on my middle finger in a bar, and I thought she was just kidding around. In my defense, it was because we were talking about the grossest things we ever did. Edit. Based on the comments, I just want to say I would like my body to be cremated. That is all. Maybe she wanted you on that list. This is the most savage thing I've seen all week. As a guy, I once had a girl climb in my bed and cuddle with me, just thinking she must be cold. Now she's putting her hand in my pants to keep it warm. Now she's putting my hand in her pants to keep it warm. She's such a considerate friend. Okay, I get it, lady. I'll turn up the heat. Stop with this passive-aggressive crap already. Not a lady, but hints that I didn't pick up at the time, but later realized it was a hint. Number 1, me and this girl watching a movie moves closer to me, puts head on shoulder, about 5 minutes, tries to hold my hand. I jumped, watching a scary movie, which I can't handle, causing our heads to hit. She moves back to the other side. Number 2, went on this date. Afterwards, I offered to walk her back to her house. It was a college town, so she only lived like 2 miles away. Get to her house, and she offers to let me come inside for a couple of drinks. I declined due to having plans with friends. She proceeds to wait at the door for something. I don't know what she's waiting for, so I wave and tell her to have a good night, and go on my jolly way back to my place. God, thinking about it, I have so many stories which just make me sad. One thing I've learned is if she's lingering, she wants something. Us awkward guys linger all the time for no reason, but we shouldn't assume others do. This poor man. He's just out there in the wild with absolutely no idea what he's doing. And the saddest part is that he probably deserves to find a good one, too. This guy turned down a woman because he had plans from friends. Guys can say all they want that they put bros first, but I feel like a lot of friends would have been understanding if he'd blown them off to take her up on her offer. But this guy stays true to his word. That's unfortunately quite rare. Hope he finds the caliber of woman he deserves someday. How about we get some girls to answer, guys? Girls, this is Reddit. Boys, this is Reddit. Back in high school, I sent a guy a picture of my butt wearing underwear. He sent pictures back of his butt in his boxers. Totally clueless until we met up again in college and hooked up. Now we've been together for almost 4 years. I love my boyfriend, even though he missed my obvious advances 6 to 7 years ago. Edit, I did not expect this to blow up so much. This is hilarious. He sent pictures back of his butt in his boxers. That is so ducking hilarious. Oh man, I've done this. To continue the trend, Guy here. To offer a disclaimer here, I'm your textbook ugly duckling in terms of self-esteem versus actual attractiveness, apparently. My first year in college, I met a girl who was a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, like 2 circles removed. She evidently had a fascination with me, and I got word back that she was joking about wanting to marry me after we hung out twice, in a group. We ended up spending more and more time together, and at one point I offered to show her this cool little decorative Aztec calendar I got that was in my room. Not thinking that, hey, come check out this thing in my dorm that I have to myself, had some connotations to it. We went and I showed it to her, and she was just staring at me. If memory serves, she was actually biting her lip. I then asked if there was anything else she wanted to do, like grab coffee. To my credit, I dodged a huge bullet there, but that's a very long story. I also got along great with a friend of mine, and I offered to let her stay with me during a rough patch in her living situation. She was super cute, and I thought she was way out of my league, so I really did take it as a joke when she told me she would suck my peen for a Dr. Pepper when we went out to lunch on that first day. She had a very upbeat sense of humor, so I don't feel like it was that much of a stretch to think she was joking. As I found out later that night, she was not kidding about that, and she kept her promise. Best dollar I ever spent. Fast forward 6 months, and we are exchanging wedding vows. That Dr. Pepper landed me a wife. So thanks, Dr. Pepper, TM. Ads are getting smarter. I'm not a bot friend. That's absurd. This isn't a clever ruse that's actually an advertising campaign. Nope, not at all. Are you stressed out because of a modern world where you have to constantly analyze whether or not things are a targeted ad? Ask your doctor if Xanax is right for you. If you get a prescription, consider the cheap copays at Walgreens, the corner of happy and healthy. On the way home, you should think about some spicy chicken nuggets from Wendy's. I'm pretty sure the guy who accused him of being an ad bot was just joking, but I love his spirited response. It does bother me that this woman only asked for a soda, though. Well, actually, I guess it bothers me that she was selling her services at all, but it bothers me doubly that she was doing it so cheaply. But since they wound up tying the knot, I guess it all worked out in the end. The only question now is whether this is the story they're going to tell their future children when they ask how their mom and dad got together. Those kids are in for one heck of a surprise. Well, I'm a lesbian, but ladies don't always pick up on hints either. On our 3rd date, I told my girlfriend I wasn't wearing any underwear, and she just said, "I guess it's laundry day, huh?" Bless her heart. That's pure. Me at 10:30 p.m. after a date. "Hey, do you want to come in?" Him. "No, I'm getting a cold sore." Me. "Well, okay then. How about drinks later this week?" Him. "If the cold sore is gone." Well, it went away, and we're still dating 6 years later. Dude refused your offer of doing it to prevent you getting the herp. He wasn't oblivious. He was a big GGG. Good guy, Gary? Props to this guy for his honesty. It must be at least a little bit anxiety-inducing to tell someone you're interested in that you're waiting for a cold sore to clear up. But he told the truth, and it sounds like he's been rewarded for it for the past 6 years. Like one of the commenters said, it doesn't sound like he was oblivious in the least. He was just a good guy. There can never be too many of those in the world. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of this video and have a wonderful day. Non-ladies who suddenly remembered all the hints they lost and now are smacking their peen foreheads in shame and disbelief at being so dumb, avoid this problem with one simple trick. Be so unappealing, no woman would ever want you. But what if you only think you're unappealing, but in reality girls fawn over you, but you're too thick to take the hint? On the first date I went on with my husband, we were sitting next to each other really close, and I looked up at him and moved closer to his face, and he said, "Can I help you?" I do this to my wife all the time just to annoy her. She pays me back by having perpetual cold feet and hands and uses me as a way to warm them up. That's actually pretty funny. It makes you wonder if there are other stories on this thread where the guy completely picked up on the signals and was just joking around. Some guys have a really playful sense of humor, so I'm sure it actually happens quite a lot. Maybe it was actually the women in those cases who were the oblivious ones. Reading this thread makes me feel so much better about my obliviousness. Nice thing about me is that I'm so ugly that no one flirts with me, ever. Or are you just oblivious to it? I literally whisper, "F me," in a seductive manner, and he responded with, "What's wrong?" He thought I was saying F me in a negative way. F me, that's one oblivious man. You're right, you can always talk to me. I sent a boobaloobalooby pic once, and the guy just laughed out loud. Kinda makes a girl not want to do that anymore. Did you put some thought into it, or was it just a close-up of a boobaloobalooby? Face was in the pic. He asked to see my bat tattoos, and I thought it was the perfect excuse to send a full-on boobaloobalooby pic to win his attention. I love that someone actually thought to interrogate this commenter about the quality of the photo, because when a guy gets a photo of a shirtless woman, the first thing we concern ourselves with is how much effort she put into it. We don't want to believe you're just rushing these pics out. Production value matters if you want to earn our affections, ladies. I'm going to go out on a limb and say most guys aren't missing the signals, they just don't want to take it the wrong way. They don't want to be the guy who jumped to conclusions and is labeled a creep or charged with harassment. Or mess with a good friendship, another underrated point. If you say, "Why don't you come over and we'll watch a movie together?" lots of guys will think, "No, she could mean she wants to do it." But the risks to ego, reputation, violating her rights are too great. Let's assume it's just a movie. Nothing can go wrong with that assumption. During the movie, she says, "I just haven't been ducked in so long." So a guy might think, "Okay, that sounds like she wants to duck me. However, if we're just friends, this could just be something she wants to get off her chest. I don't want to be a creep. Also, this is a pretty compromising situation, and things could look bad if I step over a line. Better not act. Let's see if this goes any further." I'm not oblivious to what you're saying and doing. I'm just not willing to put my foot on the gas until I see nothing but green lights. I told my now boyfriend that I was attracted to him. He's assumed that I meant I thought I was aesthetically attractive, but not into him myself. Same boy also missed me watching an entire football game with him in a pub, leaning on him the entire time, despite me saying I had never watched football before and thought it was boring, and then walking home holding his hand as an indication of how much I liked him. The team he's supporting probably just lost the match. Not much can cheer up a man from watching his team lose. I mean, if I was a Liverpool fan last week, I'd be out for a while. As much as there have been some great alternate theories posted in here, this one gives me some pause. The person responding to this story really seems to think that watching a team lose somehow outweighs the promise of being with a woman, and I'm not positive just how many men really work that way. If anything, I'd think any guy whose team just got devastated would be looking for reasons to be happy. But maybe I have it wrong? Would watching your team get creamed really turn you off that badly? Let us know down in the comments. I was at a girl's house that asked for help with homework. When I walked into her dorm room, she was in her underwear in bed and said, "Climb in, let's do homework here." And I literally said, "I think I'll do it at the desk. That way we can write easier." What? For any curious, yes, she decided to get out of bed, and we ended up doing homework at the desk while she was still nearly nude. If pain could be translated into words, you have found a way. I'm now squirming in agony. Thank you. I honestly don't know, because I assume that if I'm being obvious and it floats on by, that means he's noticing it all right, but ignoring it because he's not interested. So being even more obvious is just going to be uncomfortable and embarrassing. I know Reddit likes the narrative that women can always have what they want from guys, but that's really BS. Some of us, like me, just really don't want to get the wrong idea. If I consider the person a good friend, I tend to brush hints off as a joke, even if I have feelings for her. Best thing to do for some guys is to just go for it, unless it's obvious that they aren't into you. Those are just my 2 cents, but I'm sure many can relate, like the phone and the bra one. It's obvious reading it on the internet, but if that happened to me with one of my close friends, I'd probably be like, Can I please get my phone back? Out of fear of what had happened if I did make a move. And that's just the thing. As mentioned earlier and several times throughout this thread, some guys simply aren't willing to risk being wrong on these things. Yeah, it might sound great to get hit on and to walk away with this awesome conquest story, but these days, guys who treat women like conquests tend to find society turning on them sooner than later. And besides, guys who actually have something going for them don't have anything to prove. There's no woman worth potentially ruining their life over because they aren't in such bad need of validation that they're willing to dive in blindly without being absolutely sure. It never hurts to take your time being certain. Anyone else notice that most top commenters have usernames that are average girls' names with a hyphen between first and surname? All are 9 months on Reddit, with very little post history. What the F is going on? Some sort of bot. They all seem to have disappeared now. Goodbye, dear bot. Yep, it's a bot. What would be the purpose of having a bot generate karma on a thread like this? Is it so later comments in the account's life are taken more seriously? If I've learned anything in my 30-something years alive, it's that if you want to sleep with a man, you basically have to come out and tell him, because they do not take hints well. Lots of guys have been burned. I've misread signals and been too forward, leading to awkward, whoa, what the F? LOL, I was just making conversation. I've been flirted with by women who just wanted to flirt or get attention, not do it with me or even date me. Last and most important, most men are terrified of misreading something and assaulting a woman. After weeks of him staying over late, he was friends with my roommate, so we would just hang out, the two of us. I gathered up my liquid courage and sat in his lap and kissed him. We did that for a while, but when I was like, let's go to my room, he asked me, why? And with complete poker face. So I panicked and was like, to finish the movie. The movie had ended, we both stared at the credits, and then he was like, well, it's late. Can I kiss you one more time before I go? Jesus Christ, he was thick. To be honest, back before I ever got laid, I was not used to girls liking me. So when only this girl came over and was kissing me, I legit didn't know if I should make a move, because I thought she'll get scared. It can happen. My usual inner monologue, maybe she's just being nice. Maybe this is how she treats everyone. That's another thing. Not all guys are afraid of some terrifying legal trouble. Much like many women, some guys simply don't see themselves the way others see them. Even when it should be perfectly obvious that a woman's interested, some men with less confidence might think she's outgoing. This can happen even when the behavior quite blatantly extends past what you would consider normal for an outgoing person. She could be lying face first in his lap and stroking his thigh, and he'll think, well, maybe she's just touchy-feely. Has it ever happened to you? Feel free to let us know your own stories in the comments below. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.